After snoozing away for what felt like a millennium, Grimshaw, the formidable phantom, makes up his mind to choose his next prey. However, much to his ghostly dismay, the whole haunting fiasco takes an unexpected detour. You are listening to Midnight Narrative, and today's story is Phantoms of Positivity. Let's start, shall we? Grimshaw's eyes slowly fluttered open, and as he tried to shake off the remnants of his long slumber, he couldn't help but wonder just how much time had passed. Had it been a mere few years, or was it like a millennium? The concept of time eluded him, for the memories were shrouded in the mist of the past. As he struggled to his feet, he felt an eerie sense of disconnection from the world he once knew. Emerging from his makeshift tomb in the graveyard, Grimshaw surveyed the landscape with a growing sense of bewilderment. The once familiar town, with its rustic charm, had morphed into an unrecognizable metropolis. Tall, gleaming buildings towered over the landscape, casting long shadows on the unfamiliar streets. Grimshaw stood there, pondering the vast changes that had occurred during his lengthy slumber. He had earned quite a reputation among the spectral community for his exceptional talent in haunting teenagers. He was regarded as a master of the art, and many of his ghostly peers sought his guidance to learn his secrets. They approached him with requests to teach them the techniques that made him so terrifying. In response, Grimshaw chuckled softly, his ghostly form shifting with an air of arrogance. "You want to know my secrets?" he asked, a mischievous glint in his translucent eyes. "Haunting is an art, my dear friends, an art that cannot be taught." Grimshaw's words left his fellow ghosts both intrigued and frustrated, but he would remain the unrivaled master of this sinister art, leaving his peers to continue their quest for their own individual styles of scaring the living. Grimshaw roamed aimlessly through the city, feeling the weight of uncertainty pressing upon him. He contemplated seeking out his old friend, the enigmatic Voidwalker, but he had no idea where to begin his search. "I suppose I should find him," he mused, driven by a faint longing to reconnect. He stifled a yawn, trying to muster his ghostly energy. That's when he heard it, a distant, rhythmic sound that grated against his spectral sensibilities. He frowned, displeased by the jarring noise. "Is that a song?" he wondered incredulously. "Is this what humans are listening to nowadays?" Driven by a mixture of curiosity and disapproval, Grimshaw floated over to the source of the music, landing outside a house. Through the window, he peered in, observing the revelry within and feeling increasingly out of touch with the world he had awakened to. As Grimshaw peered through the window, his attention was drawn to a teenage girl seated on her bed. She clutched a strange gadget in her hands, the glow of its screen casting an eerie light across her face. The city streets remained deserted, and this girl appeared to be the first human he had encountered since his awakening. A malevolent idea began to form in Grimshaw's mind. "She could be my next victim," he mused, contemplating the potential for terror he could instill in her. He was hungry for the fear he could evoke, relishing the power that came with it. His longing to reunite with Voidwalker was momentarily overshadowed by the prospect of a fresh haunt. Grimshaw's intent was clear as he watched the girl with an unsettling grin, his spectral presence growing darker with anticipation. For the next 3 days, Grimshaw reveled in his malevolent art, doing all the usual ghostly deeds that made him a master in his craft. Objects moved of their own accord, doors creaked open and slammed shut. Unsettling sounds echoed through the house, and phantom footsteps left an eerie impression on the girl's senses. The girl was overwhelmed with fear and confusion as the inexplicable occurrences escalated. It was as if a ghost had taken residence in her home. She tried to confide in her parents, but they remained oblivious to the strange happenings, dismissing her claims as mere imagination. As Grimshaw continued to haunt the girl, he inadvertently gleaned tidbits of information about the girl's life. He discovered that the mysterious gadget she was always engrossed in was called a laptop. He also learned the girl's name. She was called Luna. On the 4th day of his torment, Grimshaw found himself growing increasingly bored. He had extracted all the terror he could from Luna, and he began to contemplate the end of his sinister visitation. "Let's just end it tonight," he resolved. It was time to kill the girl and perhaps seek out Voidwalker, just as he had initially intended. The clock's hand struck midnight and the room grew cold, an eerie stillness settling in. Luna sensed a presence in the room and felt a shiver run down her spine. Her heart raced as a ghostly figure materialized before her, a sinister aura radiating from its form. The figure spoke, its voice carrying an air of malevolence.
I am Grimshaw, and I am here to kill you.
Luna screamed. She was consumed by terror, and without thinking, she instinctively went to hide under her blanket, hoping it would protect her from this nightmare. Moments passed, and as the initial shock wore off, she cautiously peered out from under her makeshift shield. Trembling, she hesitantly asked, "You are here to kill me?" Grimshaw's voice retained its dark and chilling tone as he confirmed,
Yes, I'm going to end you.
Luna's reply surprised Grimshaw, leaving him momentarily speechless. Really? You'd really do that? That doesn't sound so bad. Grimshaw was so perplexed that he almost talked in his normal voice. Taken aback, he inquired,
You don't fear death?
Luna looked directly into the ghostly figure's eyes and replied with a weary sincerity, Not really. Living is more scary. Grimshaw found himself in uncharted territory.
Why?
He asked, trying to fathom her perspective. Luna, her voice tinged with a sense of resignation, responded, Why not? Being killed by you is better. If I die of old age or by some disease, it is probably going to be painful. But if you kill me now, it will all be over in a moment. Grimshaw continued to engage Luna in a dialogue that challenged his ghostly sensibilities. He pressed further, asking,
Why don't you want to live?
Luna's response held a touch of bitterness. There's no point, she said. Luna was convinced that she was going to live a mediocre life. She would have to get a 9-to-5 job and work her whole life just to get by. Grimshaw found himself facing a moral quandary. He made an effort to counter Luna's bleak outlook. He attempted to reassure Luna by telling her that there were other things in life, good things. Luna's expression remained somber, and she replied with a heavy heart that there is nothing good. Countries are fighting wars, inflation is going out of control. Global warming is there. Almost all the people are suffering from depression. There are not enough resources. Everything is wrong. Grimshaw struggled to find words to counter her despair. The haunting had transformed into an unexpected philosophical exchange as they grappled with the weight of their respective perspectives. Grimshaw couldn't bring himself to harm her. The haunting felt wrong, and her words had struck a chord within him. That night he faded away, retreating into the darkness to grapple with the meaning of his existence. In the days that followed, Grimshaw engaged in conversations with other ghosts from his spectral realm. To his surprise, he found that Luna's predicament was not unique. A common theme emerged. As the years passed by, people in the living world were becoming less afraid of death. The relentless challenges and issues plaguing humanity had led to a pervasive sense of disillusionment. Grimshaw and his fellow ghosts faced an existential crisis of their own, as the very nature of fear, their lifeblood, began to wane in a world filled with despair. Grimshaw took on a new purpose. He watched over Luna, not as a vengeful specter, but as a silent guardian. He sought to understand the world in which she lived, to see through her eyes and feel the weight on her shoulders. He watched as she navigated the hardships of her world, offering a spectral presence that brought a sense of solace to her troubled existence. In his newfound role, he discovered a connection to humanity that was both unexpected and profound. Grimshaw, the once feared ghost, underwent a transformation of his own. He decided that he and his fellow spirits needed to try and make the world a better place. Together, they formed a club, and in a playful twist, they called it the Phantoms of Positivity. The name brought a bit of levity to their otherwise ethereal existence. As time passed, the intentions of the Phantoms became evident. They reached out to Luna and others who had lost hope, whispering thoughts of unity, resilience, and hope in their dreams. These positive and uplifting messages began to infiltrate the subconscious minds of people who had been mired in despair and depression. In the quiet hours of the night, the gentle whispers of the spirits helped alleviate their suffering. The effects were subtle at first, but over time, people began to notice a change within themselves. The whispers encouraged them to connect with one another, forming support networks to tackle the challenges they faced. The newfound determination began to spread, like a ripple through a pond, and slowly but surely, individuals started coming together to make a positive impact on their world. Grimshaw had become an unlikely savior, and his mission to heal a broken world had taken on a profound new purpose. He continued to watch over Luna. His journey had come full circle as he embraced his newfound role as a harbinger of hope. You were listening to Phantoms of Positivity. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories, and remember, together, we can transform our fear into hope and despair into resilience. So, extend a hand, whisper words of encouragement, and lend your strength to those in need. See you next time. Good night.